Welcome to another edition of Sports Corner Podcast. And my special guest with me right now is Claudio Rosano. Claudio, welcome to the broadcast.
What's
Thank you
going
for
on?
being on my podcast with me.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You have a new book out, Claudio, and we're going to introduce you to the audience here a little bit. Those who don't know who you are, you lead up from the heart, not from the neck up. How's that going?
Close. Here it is. Lead from the heart
Oh,
up.
actually, I got a copy right here. There you go.
Lead from the heart up, not the neck up. Yes. It's going well. It's selling pretty good. Thank you.
Well, that's good. I was just wondering how everything was going with that, and explain to the audience what kind of shows you have going on right now.
Well, I got a bunch of them. First, I do the Boxing Authorities, the TV show with Luther Dupree and Smoking Jim Frazier. Great show, great guys. We're on PCTV 21 Pittsburgh, PCTV 47 Pittsburgh, Verizon. The 21's on Comcast. And then I do co-host with Luther and Jim again, Steel City Sports World on those same stations. Then I have a podcast, the Claudio Reilsono Show, where I interview a lot of sports legends and friends, and you've been on there as well. That's on my website.
Yeah, I have.
That's on my website, ClaudioReilsono.com. Then I have a new show called Monday Night Impact with Mark Mancini. That's the topic there, leadership, motivation, business. That you can also go on my website on ClaudioReilsono.com or blogtalkradio.com/Mancini Sports. So got a bunch of things going show-wise.
Yeah, I'm starting to get there myself. I just signed on with Mark Mancini Productions, and I have you to thank for that because you were the one who introduced me to Mark.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a great pleasure. We're going to be doing a wrestling show together, and he's going to Sports Corner, and he's going to be the producer for that and for The Way I See It also.
Yeah, those will be some good shows for you for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, let's get started, Claudio, with the Steelers. As you know, the season has ended. Yesterday, they hired a new offensive line coach, Pat Meyer, and this was an outside hire. What do you think of this?
Well, it seems like the people from Carolina aren't. They said go ahead and take him. They weren't too happy with the guy. But the coach can only do so much. You have to have the horses. I say that all the time. I'm head baseball coach at Carnegie Mellon University. I've had great seasons. We've had some not so great seasons. It's ironic that your great seasons are when you have better players, obviously. So, but I do think that the offensive line is going to be a little bit better into this coming season. But I also think they're going to probably, at least I would, draft a little heavy in the offensive line this coming year. So, new coach, a few new offensive linemen, the guys who are coming back, having another year under their belt. I think it'll be a better offensive line than it was this past season.
Absolutely. I think so too. And then on top of that, Kendrick Green is now training with Marquise Pouncey. And, I think Dan Moore can get better. I just hope that that the Steelers go into this draft with an open mind. And what I want to talk about right now is perhaps I think the Steelers, and I think you'll agree with me, need to go into this draft and think outside the box. They need to stop thinking of this Steeler way thing because it's not working, Claudio. It really isn't.
No, I'm with you. So a lot of people are saying draft a quarterback, draft Kenny Pickett. To be very honest with you, I would not do that. And I definitely would not trade for an established quarterback because you need your draft picks. There's plenty of free agent draft picks out there. There's plenty of free agent quarterbacks out there. Like I've been saying all along, Marcus Mariota I think would be a great fit. Tomlin wants somebody who can move. You get Winston James, he can move. I would look at those two guys. I've been talking about Mitchell Trubisky. I know a lot of people might not be crazy about him, but I think with a good team and all the bricks aren't on his shoulders, I think he could be a pretty good quarterback. So I would not trade any draft picks. I would go after a free agent quarterback. Those guys aren't going to be worth a ton. They're not going to cost a ton of money, I don't believe. And, that's the way I would go about it. And maybe, I think they're set in the tight ends. I think maybe get a lineman or two, maybe even a wide receiver if a really good one's available in the second or third round. And then work on that corner, the defensive backfield as well.
Oh, absolutely. They're going to need to do that, Claudio, because of Joe Hayden
Yeah.
possibly leaving, and I wouldn't re-sign Joe Hayden anyway. Terrell Edmonds, I'd like to see him take a walk. Devin Bush and a few other folks. Joe Schobert. I mean, for the fact that Joe Schobert was the one that called the plays on the defense, uh, he still. I watched him numerous times either get burned on a pass play or he just wasn't there for the tackle.
Yeah,
And
he was a
you
little bit
know,
of a
for
disappointment this year. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know if he's. I heard that contract was the worst contract in free agency this year. That's what I was told. So it's yeah, exactly. So anyway, also the Steelers now. A report is out that they are talking about trading up to get Sam Howell, and I think that's a mistake from North Carolina. I like Sam Howell; he's a good quarterback. I watched him play against Pitt and a few other games in the ACC. You said it before. What do you think about this trading up to get Sam Howell, if that's the proper report?
Um, Again, me personally, I like a veteran back there. A guy like Marcus Mariota or Trubinsky or Jameis Winston. These guys have seen it all. The game is not fast to them. And again, they can move, which Tomlin wants. And I believe, even though some of them are 27, 20 years old, these guys still have a good 9, 10 years left in them, in my opinion, because they're not all banged up. Yeah, Winston has gotten hurt here and there. But again, I'd focus on Mariota. I really would. And I don't think he would cost as much. And again, you don't have to give up any draft picks because those draft picks mean a lot, especially in the condition the Steelers are in right now. You need all the draft picks you can get. And again, Mariota is a younger guy. Doesn't have a lot of miles on him. He's a veteran. I think he'd be perfect for them. I really do.
Well, how about the report that Carson Wentz is available, and now it's being suggested by our other media colleagues, some of them, that we look at Carson Wentz. I don't think that's a good idea.
Well, they're going to probably want a lot, just like I like Jimmy Garoppolo, and I think San Francisco is going to want a lot for him. Again, I would not touch those draft picks. I just wouldn't. I think they're too
Well,
valuable.
what about Tyrod Taylor? There's a rumor going around they spoke to Tyrod Taylor this week.
Yeah, he's another one.
I think he's a serviceable guy.
Yeah, and again, he can move. He's got an arm. The game is slow to him. He's been around a while. So yeah, I definitely would get him. To repeat, I just would not touch those draft picks.
All right, if you were to go into the draft, and I'm thinking about doing what we're doing on February 28th, and those of you who are not aware, February 28th, 6 p.m. PCTV, Channel 21, Comcast, Channel 47, Verizon Cable. And on top of that, also on PCTV's Facebook page, we are doing the Year in Sports Spectacular. And myself, Claudio here, and Smoking Jim Frazier, Luther Dupree from Steel City Sports World, and also Alan Levine from Pittsburgh Sports Line on Bethel Park TV will also be joining us. I'm planning on putting a draft show together, Claudio, with all of us again for the draft show. If you were to do the draft today, a mock draft, what would you do?
For the Steelers?
Yes.
Again, I would go heavy on offensive line. And I mean, you can probably get a pretty good stud in the first round. Somebody who's going to move the chains, pardon the pun. And maybe then defensive backfield. That's what I would do. I mean, the first 2 rounds, that's what I would do. Like I said, if you want to get a quarterback in the 3rd round, I mean, I think Mason Rudolph is a serviceable backup. Dobbs, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the Roy Hobbs. Dobbs is a serviceable 3rd string guy, in my opinion. But I would definitely not waste any of those draft picks. So I'd go offensive line. I go defensive backfield, and then maybe another offensive lineman. To me, Ralph, the 2 most important positions are the offensive line and the defensive line as a whole. Because if the offensive line is good, it gives your quarterback a chance to throw the ball, gives them time. It also allows your running back to get through those holes. Defensive line, it rushes the quarterback, pressures the quarterback, stops the run, helps out the linebackers, helps out the defensive backfield. So it's it's linked. It's a trickle down, trickle up, however way you want to say it. Again, offensive line helps the running game. passing game. Defensive line helps the middle linebackers and defensive backfield.
Well, also, I've said it time and time again, both lines of scrimmage have to operate in order for this to work.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like the defensive and the offensive lines. And, the quarterback, all he needs to do is manage the game. If you can get the running attack going and play action, you shouldn't have any problems. Because then,
they have a stud running back, somebody who I liken to Lawrence McCutcheon from the old 73 to 77 LA Rams. He's not just a guy who can catch the ball out of the backfield on a 5-yard pattern. He can go deeper, and he's a horse. He can run the ball all day long. So you got a stud running back. You just need some offensive linemen to open up the holes for him. And then again, that'll also help the quarterback. And like I said, if you get a veteran quarterback, I would not put a rookie back there, nor would I put Mason Rudolph. I think he is I'll put it to you this way about Mason Rudolph and a lot of backup quarterbacks, because what do they say? The most popular player on the team is the backup quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. It is. Yes.
But, you remember Sean Rodriguez of the Pirates. Sean Rodriguez of the Pirates was effective as long as he didn't have more than 300 at bats. And when he's 325, 350, then he got exposed. It's like a backup quarterback. If he plays in spots, if he starts one game, if he plays, if the quarterback gets hurt for that game, he can be effective. But if you put him in 2, 3, 4 games in a row, he's not going to be effective.
Well, let me say this about Sean Rodriguez. He wasn't even batting his weight.
Well, yeah, because they ended up playing him too much. They thought, maybe
too
this
much,
guy's good. He's only good up to about 300 some at bats. Then the tail end, it's just like some pitchers. I'm not in favor of the pitch count, but after X amount of pitches, they start to go down. But Rodriguez, after 300 some at bats, he started to go down. Mason Rudolph and a lot of other backup quarterbacks, when they have 2, 3 games in a row that they're starting, not good. If they come in because the quarterback got hurt or maybe he got benched, that's fine. They can, like Duck Hodges, he came in, he excited some people, Duck Mania. But then if he played too much, he was exposed. So.
Well, that's great, Claudio. Wrapping up the Steelers here, I have a tough question for you, okay? Do you think that Art Rooney II wants to win a Super Bowl? What do you think? I need – see, here's the thing. I presented this on my Facebook show, and I presented this on the prior podcasts here, and I have not received any answers from anybody, so I need an answer from you. Do you think that Art Rooney II wants to win a Super Bowl?
I think he wants to win a Super Bowl, but if you remember in the movie Rocky III, I believe it was, when Mickey told Rocky in Rocky's room, he said, the worst thing that could ever happen to a fighter happened to you. You got rich, basically. He had all the money. He lost that hunger. So maybe, he doesn't feel that he has to win it. He's making a ton of money. He has the most, in my opinion, the best organization. He's got the best fans, the most solid organization in sports. Everybody knows the Steelers. And not that he doesn't want to win one, but, he probably doesn't have the hunger of a Jerry Jones. He probably doesn't have a hunger of a lot of these other guys that, want to win no matter what the cost, So, he goes about it the way he goes about it. And, that's his style. I mean, we don't expect him to be like a Jerry Jones type guy, but, you don't have to be as vocal or out in the media as much for you to, convince people that you want to win a Super Bowl. But, it just seems like he's kind of going with the flow with things, and we're making the playoffs. He's figuring and making a ton of money, and that's it.
I see. All right. One other thing I wanted to ask you too. Heinz Field, the naming rights is up at the end of this season. Right. Do you think Rooney Field would be a good idea if they can't find a sponsor or if Heinz doesn't renew?
Yeah, but I don't think that they want to do that because who are they going to pay themselves?
Right, exactly. Yeah, I know how that works. Yeah.
They're going to want somebody. They're going to want somebody to, even if it's not as much as the Heinz original number, which I have no idea what it was. I'm sure they're going to want to have Heinz back, but if they don't sign up again, I'm sure there's somebody out there who is going to pay a ton of money to have the naming rights there. So even if it's, I'm just throwing numbers here, even if it's, $10-15 million less than Heinz Field paid originally, it's better than them putting up their own money or getting zero.
I see. One other thing I wanted to ask you: what's your thoughts on the new coaching hires in the NFL right now?
Um, we don't know. We don't know who they are. I mean,
Well, Jacksonville, it's Doug Peterson,
yeah, I
which
mean,
of
he's
course he
obviously,
coached Philly.
yeah,
I think that's a good hire.
he's a good
Uh,
hire.
I'm not
There's a
real
lot of
sold on
guys.
Lovie Smith with the Texans. I'm not sold on him.
I like I'm riding the fence. I like the veteran coaches because again, the game slows up for them. They're not in panic mode. They're not going to. I said about McVay in the Super Bowl. I said he's going to do better this Super Bowl than he did the last Super Bowl because he's a veteran of it. These guys are hiring. What I don't like is they just if one team hires a 37-year-old, then everybody hires a 37-year-old. They follow the lead.
Right.
Instead
Oh
of
yeah, yeah. It's
and
like we used to say. It's like we used to say growing up, Claudio, monkey see, monkey do. You know what
yeah.
I mean?
I
So
mean, for me, hey, I was given my first crack as a head coach in high school, albeit 23 years old. I mean, I was ready for it, and I
mhm.
could have coached wherever at that age because I was prepared for it. So, I hate to say an answer I hate when people say is we have to wait and see, but we're gonna have to wait and see because you don't know. I mean, they made like the McDaniels and the Raiders.
Yeah, he's on his second stint.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll say this though. For me, as Roberto Clemente used to say, and Smoking Jim always uses that reference. But for me, it was easier for me to be a head coach than it was to be an assistant coach. Now I knew my boundaries as an assistant, and I kept them. But
Right.
I never would backstab anybody to get to the big seat. But
Right.
for me, it was easier to be a head coach. Some of these guys, what was the guy's name? He was a head coach for a few different teams. Oh my God. He was with the Dallas Cowboys as an offensive coordinator. If you said his name,
Oh, Jason Garrett. You
no,
mean
no,
Jason Garrett?
the guy before him. He was a head coach, I believe, at San Diego, and I forgot where else. But anyway,
Oh
he was
gosh.
not a. He
Yeah,
was
I'm trying to
excellent.
remember who it is too.
He was
Yeah.
excellent offensive coordinator, excellent. But he was a head coach. He wasn't so good. There's a difference between being a coordinator and a head coach, and
Right. Right.
so again, we're gonna have to wait and see.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What's your thoughts on the Hall of Fame? We have some names here in the Hall of Fame that hang on a minute. Well, first, okay, let's stick with the coaching here. Uh, I was surprised when Chicago hired Matt Eberfloss. I thought they were going to hire somebody else, more of an offensive mind to work with, but then to work with Justin Fields.
Right.
And, I had talked about how good he was with, and I don't even know if Rick Neuheisel's still on the staff there or not. But I had said that when you were on my show, on my Sports Corner show on PCTV.
Right.
Also, Brian DeBoe is with the New York Giants. He's going to be their head coach. I think Denver's going to do well with Nathaniel Hackett. He comes from, he's a second generation coach. His dad, Paul Hackett, was a coach at Pitt, USC, offensive coordinator, quarterback coach around the league. So I think they should work out. Josh McDaniel, I don't trust him because he jumped away from the Colts when he told him he was ready for that job.
Yeah.
And he decided to stay behind. I don't trust him at all. But Lovie Smith with the Texans, I don't know. The Texans seem to keep doing bad hires. I don't know what's going on with them.
Yeah, again, you don't know. I mean, a guy that I've liked for a long time was Raheem Morris, and obviously he did a nice job at the Rams. But these other guys, I think Jack Del Rio was a good name.
Yeah, that was
right now. But there's Byron Leftwich, who I think should have gotten a crack at something. But I don't know these guys. I've never heard of them, so for me to comment on them one way or the other isn't good. So I don't know. I mean, again, we'll have to wait and see. It's just like if I'll never forget. In a lot of shows that I do, I mention Chuck Knox, who, as I have said 1,000 times,
right.
He was like an uncle to me. He used to come to our house every year, and there's some autographed football for 77 Rams. I got a bunch of things from him. He used to send me all the time. But anyway, when he signed in January of 1973 with the LA Rams as the head coach, I think his name is Bill Murray. He's a very famous sports writer. He said, I think the line was the the limo pulled up in front of the press conference and nobody got out. Right. And because they
That's
didn't
a
know who
good one.
Chuck was. And
Who Chuck was, right?
Chuck, in my opinion, is a Hall of Fame football coach. Okay. He turned
Hmm.
3 organizations around and he turned them around quick. So so people may not they may criticize these hirings, but we don't know yet. We just don't know.
Right. Oh yeah, yeah. The jury's still out on them. I mean, it's like you just don't know what they're going to do. Especially Doug Peterson and Lovie Smith. Maybe this is Lovie Smith's third go round as a head coach. Maybe he'll make it this time. You know
Yeah.
what they say: third time's always a charm.
Right.
I mean, he went away to college for a little while. He laid an egg, and so we'll see what he does. Former Steeler Deshae Townsend has been hired, Claudio, for secondary coach for Jacksonville.
Well,
So
that's good.
yeah,
Obviously,
yeah,
he's had as Fran Tarkenton likes to say, he's had his hands in the soil. He's been there. So
right.
he can now a lot of times though, uh, former players don't exactly make the best coaches. Ted Williams, arguably the greatest hitter of all time, was not a very good coach. Uh, Tony La Russa was not a very good player. Jim Leland was not a very good player. Chuck Tanner was not a very good player, but they
But
were
made good
Billy
coaches,
Martin.
good managers.
Billy
Yeah,
Martin was not a great player, but they were damn good.
right.
Billy Martin was pretty good, but they made damn good Hall of Fame managers, in my opinion. So yeah, good for him. Hopefully he'll grow into the position and do well.
Yeah, also Vic Fangio is going to be the new defensive coordinator with the 49ers as well.
See,
So,
there's a guy there again as a head coach. He just didn't. He
he
didn't
didn't
do it.
make it in Denver.
But
Yeah,
he's a good defensive coordinator. So
right.
it's that, again, some coaches are they're head coach material. There's an it factor, the way they look, the way they walk, the way they present themselves. You just know somebody's a head coach, and like I said, these new guys, we'll see.
Right. All right. Well, in the NFL, they have the Hall of Fame coming up here as soon as I find my sheet here, which, of course, sometimes that happens. But while I have you here for baseball, they're supposed to have some more talks coming up. Spring training was supposed to start today.
Right.
What's your thoughts on the lockout?
I don't think they're going to play till mid-May. Both sides are button heads. They're talking zillions of dollars versus zillions of dollars. Um, and I don't think that football can. Okay, how can I put this? Football could strike, and the audience is going to come right back. Baseball, I don't know if it can. I don't know if it can. It's going to take some time. I mean, what did it take after last strike? It took McGuire and Sosa to pick up baseball again, and then once they were used and they were thrown out into the garbage because of PDs or what have you, or accusations. But what's going to save baseball the next time? I don't know. I
Right.
think that they should just go in a room, pound things out, and now if they delay, if something miraculous would happen, and they can start spring training maybe next week or something, within the next 10 days, it's not going to have any effect. But if they lose spring training, then they lose all of April and they go into maybe mid-May. I don't know if kids today, Ralph, I don't think they give a damn too much. I mean,
Oh, I
what's
know.
what's in front of
Absolutely.
them,
Yes.
they're interested in. Once you remove that vision of them doing something, I think they lose it. I mean, the older fans like us who really adored spring training. I used to love spring training. I used to listen to my radio, transistor radio, and I used to like to hear that knock, on because in
Yes.
Bradenton, the
Right.
microphone was like right on the field. I don't see that anymore. I don't. There's too many other things. The kids have their phones and their apps and this that now,
Oh, absolutely.
and they're like,
Absolutely.
so I think it's crazy. They're going to lose. They're going to lose fans, and I don't think that they realize it. I don't know if they realize or if they care or if they understand it. Who the hell knows? But I
Well,
think
they
that
should care because no one goes to baseball games anymore. I mean, they were just complaining about how attendance is down at these baseball games. And, the prices keep going up. People can't afford it.
yeah,
I've said it time and time again. You got to take out a loan to go to a game or do any
yeah.
kind of
I think they.
event.
I think if something miraculous happens within the next 10 days or so, I think they can get away with it. But if they lose all of February spring training, all of March spring training, all of April regular season, going to mid-May, and later, I think it's going to not only have they lost games, excuse me, but they've lost fans because the fans have lost interest and are going to be disgusted with it. Because there's people
I
out
see.
there who aren't making 6, 8, 9, 10, $12 million. Okay. And, like back when we were kids, I think I just read today, I think Willie Stargell back in 74 was making like 155,000. Now you say, boy, that was a lot of money. Yeah, but it's not what the hell 10, 12, 15 is now. And Stargell was
Right, right,
stud.
right,
He was a big dog, but I think they got to get their act together, but I don't see it happening, in my opinion.
right. Okay, let's go over your friend Dick Vermeil is obviously going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
The late Sam Mills, which of course he was a great player. Leroy Butler, safety. He's going to the Hall of Fame. Tony Bazzelli, everyone questioned him, but he was a good offensive lineman,
Sure.
regardless of the fact that, he didn't make it to any kind of, playoffs or any kind of Super Bowl or anything like that.
Right.
Richard Seymour, Bryant Young, defensive lineman, Cliff Branch. Cliff Branch, there you go. He's a good wide. He was a good wide receiver.
He was long deserving. Yeah.
Oh yeah, DeMarcus Ware, Andre Johnson. I know Smoking Jim had some things to say about Andre Johnson, which of course, Devin Hester, punt returner, kick returner.
Yeah.
That's something that I think the Steelers really need to look at as well. I'm getting tired of the Ray McLeods and the Ryan Switzers with his hand up in the air.
Yeah.
I think they need to go into the draft or find a free agent who can run back these kick returns and get us some good field position
There's
to help
somewhere
our
out
young
there.
quarterback.
There's
Huh?
somewhere out there for sure. But as far as the Hall of Fame is concerned, I was very, very happy for Dick Vermeil. He is what you see on TV. That's who he is. He's a good, good man who's a hell of a coach. And I'm so happy for him. And, he said, there's so many more people more deserving than him. And you watch whenever he does his speech, it's going to be an unbelievable speech. I think I talked to him a day later through email, but just a good man. But there's a couple, you mentioned Cliff Branch who deserves it. There's a couple guys there's two guys in the NFL Hall of Fame that are missing, in my opinion. And then a third one, ironically, hit me today because I was watching some old AFL documentaries. But first, Harold Jackson, maybe I'm biased because he played for the LA Rams 73-77. But that guy, if you look at his stats and you watch him play, he was unbelievable, unbelievably fast, unbelievable hands, great route runner, great career, and just doesn't get enough momentum, just doesn't get talked about enough. But he is definitely a Hall of Famer. He is a Cliff Branch type. The other guy is Roman Gabriel. A lot of people think Roman Gabriel.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. If he's not in it, you know what? Somebody ought to go to jail. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Roman Gabriel, man. I watched him play. Yeah. I mean,
autograph helmet.
I mean, I was young, but I watched him play. So
autograph helmet of him back there. But
I see that you got some good memorabilia there, Claudio. I love it.
But that's a great. Today, when I was watching this AFL documentary, was a guy named Gino Cappelletti who played for the Patriots. Not just because he's Italian, but he was really good. I mean, he was a stud. I knew he was big time, but I didn't know he was that big. Big time. But
right.
These Hall of Fames, to be honest with you, it's not as hard as people make it out to be. I mean, if a guy's a Hall of Famer. Like a lot of people thought that Roman Gabriel was already in the Hall of Fame, and obviously he's not. But I think the bad thing about Hall of Fames are, like I mentioned, Chuck Knox. Chuck deserves it. 3 turnarounds, 3 programs, like 3 or 4 Coach of the Years. When he retired from coaching, I believe in 1996, he retired as the 5th leading in wins all time. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Marty Schottenheimer's a guy who should be in. Don Coryell gets some consideration, but Schottenheimer and Chuck Knox do not. I don't quite understand that. But,
I don't either, because I think between Knox and Schottenheimer, I think they won more games than Coryell. I don't think Coryell.
They won a lot more games. Yeah, they won.
Yes, exactly. Coryell won games, but he didn't win that many.
The problem with a lot of Hall of Fames is things get personal. And
yeah, exactly.
For example, this one guy he was an idiot. He voted in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. He said that he wasn't going to vote for Nolan Ryan because a lot of people didn't vote for Don Sutton. What the hell does that have to do with anything?
Right, exactly.
It's like, for
Exactly.
example, when Hank Aaron retired, he owned the greatest record in sports history, and he had more home runs than anybody in baseball. And
Right,
those
right.
people didn't vote for him. Willie Mays is iconic, okay, and he didn't get all the votes. Joe DiMaggio, iconic. If you look at just say Hank Aaron, he won a World Series. He's all-time leading home run hitter. Look at his hits. He's all-time extra base hits or whatever. What can you do? Why would you say no? He doesn't belong in there. Like, what question is there?
Exactly.
Or who won 1,000 World Series? Mickey Mantle, Yogi Berra, they didn't get all the votes.
Right.
Babe Ruth didn't get all the votes. So somebody they should get rid of those voters. And I know a lot of these Hall of Fames, like I said, they don't like somebody, or maybe they weren't good with the press. Dave Parker belongs.
Yeah, I was just going to say that about the press. I was going to say maybe they're holding a grudge because they asked him a tough question and he blew him off, or they didn't. You know what I mean?
I get that. And Al Oliver belongs in the Hall of Fame. If Harold Baines is in the Hall of Fame, Al Oliver belongs in the Hall of Fame. If Jim Rice is in the Hall of Fame, Dave Parker belongs in the Hall of Fame. So these Hall of Fames are, it's an honor, and don't let anybody kid you. Everybody wants to get into a Hall of Fame. They get upset after a while. They get disgusted. I know Harry Carson said, just take my name off the ballot, and eventually he got in. But it's not an ego thing. You work your tail off to have a career, and you get somebody there who doesn't like you, or
someone who, yeah, exactly.
Like Pete Rose, for example.
Yeah.
Okay, I know what Pete Rose did, but that was in 1989. Okay, he's paid for it. He's paid for it 10 times over, 30 times over. Now allow him to be voted in. I'm not now. As people may know, the Baseball Hall of Fame is not. They're not really affiliated with Major League Baseball. Like, they're two separate entities. Okay, so they could put him in, but they just want to be tough. And then, like, a lot of these writers, are they perfect? They've never done anything wrong?
Absolutely not.
There's a couple of them who got caught doing some crazy things. Okay,
right, exactly. Yes,
like, they're voting on somebody else's morals and how they did this or they did that. I don't like that. This is not for sainthood. Okay,
right.
Who belongs in? Were they a coach or player or whatever? Do they belong in? It's as simple as that. But
yeah, you have to look at statistics. You have to look at overall games won or lost. There's a lot of things that go into that.
Yeah.
And just to have the reporters vote on it, and then, like you said, you have a reporter who just doesn't like you or had a bad experience with you at one time is going to vote against you. And that's, I know how politics works. I've been involved in it in other ways.
They do the, holier than thou, or even, for example, you made a great point about statistics. Gale Sayers and Lynn Swann didn't have long careers, but they belong in the Hall of Fame. And they're in the Hall of Fame. They're in, thankfully. But like I said, I just get really upset when these voters who, they have, look, nobody's perfect. Nobody is perfect.
Right.
Everybody has something. Okay. And again, you're voting on whether or not a guy should be in the Hall of Fame because you're holier than thou, you're better than him, or he made a mistake in his 20s or 30s or whatever the case is. Okay. Maybe don't, even Alex Rodriguez, who's one of my favorites, both on the field and off. Okay, you don't want to put him in the first ballot. All right, I get it. You don't want to put him in next year. All right, I get it. But eventually put him in. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, because they were going up against guys who maybe didn't get caught or who did get caught. So
yeah, like Pete Rose. You know what I mean? They keep Pete Rose out of everything. I mean, come on. I mean,
they have
what he did was wrong. What he did was wrong. I understand that, but come on. I mean, Pete Rose was the guy.
He paid.
Yes.
That was
yes, he did.
1989.
Right.
Now
right. Exactly.
In my opinion.
Right. My next question to you is about Aaron Donald. He wants to retire. He's only played 8 years. And this question's been asked of me numerous times to me, and that is, and we're gonna discuss here for a little bit the life expectancy of these players. A lot of them now, I notice, are retiring early. Right. It appears they're starting to bank their money a little bit better, getting involved in some better, investments and things like that. I know some of them that have retired. I heard Charlie Batch ended up having some issues after he retired, and a few other people made some bad investments. But the majority of these players now, and look at Heath Miller and some of them, and Aaron Donald now, they're 8, 10 years, they're done. They're not abusing their bodies like they used to, and I think it's because of the pension plan or whatever the NFL does do for them or whatever. I don't think it's enough to cover them, that they're not going to abuse their bodies like that.
Well, I think, Greg Norman, the Hall of Fame golfer, who's somebody who I look up to a great deal, a lot more so what he did off the golf course. He said that he wanted to prepare his life, his business, for when he wasn't the number one golfer in the world. So as he was the number one golfer, he was preparing for his life after sports. And I think a lot of these guys were doing that.
Chuck Noll taught that.
I know Aaron Donald, for example, is a company that I deal with. Pat Cavanaugh, who's a great guy. He has a company called I should know that. I'm not going to tell him. Come Ready Nutrition.
Okay.
And I know that Aaron Donald's involved in that. And he's involved in other things. And I'm sure he invested well. And you have to be smart with your money. And if he retired tomorrow, I think it's smart because you get the hell knocked out of you. But
you want to be there for your family. I mean, and that's exactly, and that's
it's not how much you make, Ralph. It's how much you save. I remember going to the Boxing Hall of Fame in 2017, and you've seen, without mentioning names, you've seen some guys there that were they're big names and Hall of Famers, and they don't have anything,
right.
And it was sad because they earned it, right? And when you're a football player or baseball, you can get away with it, obviously, but hockey, football, boxing, you take those shots to the head, to the body, to the head, to the body. It takes its toll. So if you can make a quick run, make your money, and get the hell out, then that's the thing to do.
Yeah, a lot of these guys like Aaron Donald, he could become an analyst easily.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they make some really good money now, and that's like when Bill Cowher got out of coaching, and then the NC State coach Frank Amato got fired, and right away they said, "Oh, you're going back to NC State." He said, "Why would I want to coach again?" He said, "I just got out of coaching." He says, "I got the best job in the world. I make $2 million, whatever he makes, a year at that time." And this was going back 10 years now.
Right.
And, I saw the interview on CBS Sports before, and he said, I don't need to do that anymore. I got a nice job. I live in Manhattan. I got a girlfriend. He says, or whatever. I'm near my daughters. What else do I need to do? Why do I need to go back to that?
Who needs that? Those punches, both physically and mentally. Coaching is a lot of pressure. And I think I think it's crazy to, like, John Madden, I think, was smart. 10 years, got out, and he made
he got out. Yeah, I was. And Dick Vermeil, I mean, he left after Philadelphia and took a break and came back.
Well, Dick took years off, but he said,
right. I remember that. Yes,
he said the reason why I left is because I had to. The reason why I came back was because I had to. And he did. And, he changed a little bit when he came back, and he wasn't instead of spending 17 hours at the office, maybe he spent 13. But
right.
But again, it's not how much you make. It's how much you have and what you did with it. And yes, so invest, but you have to invest properly. And I've seen these athletes. They not even just athletes. People in general, they'll buy a home that's $3 million. Okay. But then the upkeep is ridiculous. Not just the $3 million,
Right. I wouldn't want a $3 million big home like that. I mean, seriously, I wouldn't want anything like that. Who needs it?
It's a lot of pressure.
Right.
And you only have X amount of years to make that high number. Like some boxers, they'll make, in the 20s, 25s, 15s, 10s, and then they're getting older, they're getting knocked out. Then they're starting to make 5 and 6, which is great money, but not when you have a house that's $25-30 million, and you have an entourage that you have to pay and all that stuff. You got to be smart. It's I always say it's better to live like a prince for a lifetime than a king for a day.
Right, right. Well, Chuck Noll used to tell his players too. Now a lot of these Steeler players credit him for that. Get
Life
on with
sport,
your
yeah,
life's work. Don't
that's
make
right.
football, the thing. And I have his book. I've read his book, and I tell you what, he says the same thing in his book. I mean,
Yeah, no, that's right. Again, that's something that I know me personally, I've been lucky that I've been coaching now going on 39 years. But I've been at CMU for 17. I've been scouting professionally for 21. But I'm always looking for that other thing. That's why I do all these shows. I own a landscape
shows,
business.
right,
I
right,
own a landscape business. I started a coaching consulting business. I wrote a book. I do all kind of things because you don't know when something's going to end or when you don't want to do it anymore, and
right.
you never have enough health and you never have enough money. Mario Andretti, one time they asked him, what's your biggest fear? And he blurted out right away, poverty. He worried about it. So he said, whenever you have that fear, you you work harder, you live differently. And here's a guy who came here to America with his family, $125, and he now is worth over 130 million,
Hmm.
and he earned every cent, but he was smart with his money. And so if
Right,
Aaron Donald, if he retired tomorrow, I'd say that's fantastic, good for him, because he'll have his hands in other businesses, like I mentioned, the Come Ready brand and all that. But
right,
he will also, if he wants, he'll go on TV.
right. Also, I wanted to get your thoughts on Crosby scoring his 500th goal. It's great to see him do that. But here's a question I want to pose to you, because Ron Hextall has said he cannot afford all three of these guys. He can only afford two. Of the three of these guys, which two would you do? Brian Rust, Evgeny Malkin, and Chris Letang. Which two would you do?
Letang and Rust. Let Malcolm
Okay.
go. Yeah.
Let Malkin walk?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think, and I'm not trying to say this to be rude, but for Malkin, but it's just my opinion. I think Malkin's kind of worn out his welcome here a little bit. I think he needs to go to somewhere else and get a fresh start someplace else, maybe, or whatever,
Yeah.
you know?
Plus Letang, every time he scores a goal, there's a company here that sell Milkshake Factory. They give half off on milkshakes. My daughter and I go every
Oh, get
time.
out of here for real.
Excellent milkshakes too. Wow.
Well, no, I heard their milkshakes are really good, but see, again, uh, uh, a buddy of mine said that he went to the one over East Liberty and he paid a lot of money for it. He said, he used my expression, you got to take out a loan.
Well, no, but when he scores a goal, it's half off.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I just wanted to know what your thoughts were on that, because Hextall said he can only sign two of the three.
I keep dancing
He
with
thinks
Letang.
he's going to be
Yeah.
able. Right. Okay. How about the USFL starting back up again? What's your thoughts on that?
I was a huge USFL fan years ago. I was a
Hmm.
big fan of the Birmingham Stallions and the Pittsburgh Maulers. And if you look,
Cliff
yeah, well,
Stout.
and if you, yeah, I like Cliff Stout, but if
Hey,
you
I
look,
thought Cliff Stout was a good quarterback. I have
he
nothing
was,
against Cliff Stout,
he was
and
good.
his son was a good quarterback too when his
Yeah.
son was in it. You know.
Again, I've just for some reason the past couple of days I've been watching stuff from the old AFL, American Football League, and I'm a big
Right.
ABA fan. There's a nice book that my dad bought me here years ago about the ABA. I love the ABA and love the AFL. And look at all the names that came from there. Look at all the names that came from the USFL. The Herschel Walkers, the Jim Kellys, the Doug Flutys, and on that played in the NFL. But I don't know if you're going to get that type of player anymore. But I hope it works. Anything that can get, you know, anything that can help somebody that doesn't make it to the NFL still make money in football, I'm for. So
Okay,
of
but let
course,
me ask you this question though, and you've lived in this town as long as I have. Almost our whole lives
I've been here my
practically.
whole life. Yeah,
Yeah, so have I.
same
So
house.
yeah, exactly. Um, anyway, what would these things don't go well here in Pittsburgh? We can't even get field an NBA team if we tried. I mean, it's like if it ain't the Steelers, Pirates, and Penguins, forget about it.
I think I always wanted an NBA team here, always. But I do think if they had an NBA team here now, I think it might be okay. But as far as the Maulers are concerned, you know, I don't know if people here are football fans more than they are Steeler fans, if that makes
Right.
sense. I
Right.
don't know if another team coming in here, if it's gonna, it may pack not pack, it may get some attendance because maybe they can't get Steeler tickets, okay, and they do like football, so they're gonna go for that experience and that the
Hmm.
ambiance, the whole 9 yards. So hopefully, I'd like to see it work, but again, it is hard to go into another city that already has a team,
Or the
a well
professional teams
established
or whatever,
a well
or a
established team.
college, or a very,
Right.
um, like State College. If you were to have a State College team, it wouldn't make it because everybody's Penn State up there. You
Everybody's
know.
Penn State. You have to
Yeah.
be very strategically intelligent whenever you're going to put a team somewhere. I mean, you're not going to Pittsburgh's going to be tough. Dallas is going to be tough, and Buffalo. Those places like that are going to be tough. And then not only that, but then you say, okay, then we'll go somewhere like I don't know off the top of my head, but they may have a baseball team like Atlanta Falcons aren't.
Bangor, Maine, or something. Bangor, Maine, or something like
I'm
that. Yeah.
saying, but yeah, but who? Yeah, maybe there, but then again, like in Atlanta, let's say the Falcons aren't doing great, but then you have the Braves during that time of year that are doing well.
Right.
And,
Right.
you're only going to be able to stretch somebody's dollar
Dollar. Right.
so
Yeah. Exactly. Yes. Yes. Uh, Well, the Maulers have Kirby Wilson as their head coach. There's some notable names. Todd Haley
yeah.
is the coach of the Tampa Bay Bandits. Mike Riley, he's one of the coaches.
Mhm.
And Kevin Sumlin. They got a bunch of guys, some well-known names out there that are part of this USFL. Maybe that'll help them a little bit. But my next question to you is: they're playing all their games this year in Alabama, but here's the thing. Next year, everybody's going to play in their home turf if it works.
Mhm.
And now they're talking about here where's the Maulers going to play. First, from what I'm told, they looked at Highmark Stadium. They
Mhm.
said that wasn't good enough for them. Now I'm hearing they're either going to play at Rooney Field or they're going to play at Heinz Field. But they said Heinz Field is too big for what they draw. So
Yeah.
they're going to have to look at something. They're talking about maybe Walton Field out in Robert Morris, Joe
Yeah,
Walton
those are
Stadium.
all good choices with the exception of Heinz
Yeah,
Field because the overhead's just going to be too much.
too much. Right,
Too much. So,
right.
and that's the problem. Again, like I was talking about athletes, you don't want to overspend. Okay, you want to live within your means, and the USFL, they have to live within their means. Right now, don't get Dallas Stadium or what do they call that, SoFi, whatever the hell they call it.
SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles don't have a team. Yeah,
Yeah, but I'm saying if they did,
if they
go
did, yeah,
after like Robert Morris. They want
yeah.
money because that field probably is empty for X amount of time during the year. Or the what's the soccer field you mentioned in Pittsburgh?
Oh, Highmark Stadium.
Highmark Stadium, I think would be
Yeah,
excellent. To be honest with you,
right.
so you got to be smart again, strategically smart, intelligent, not only in the placement of the town, but the placement of the team and where they play. Again, watching the AFL documentary today, they played in some old stadiums that were on their way out until they were established. Once you're established, then maybe you can rent, another
Heinz Field or something. Yeah,
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 maybe.
right. Or even PNC Park. I mean, they've made baseball parks into football fields for things.
Yeah, I mean, Fenway does it. Yankee
Yeah,
Stadium does it for bowl games.
right, right.
But again, I still think that's going to be a higher price than
Then, oh yeah,
the other
yeah.
place. Me personally, anything I do business wise, I like to keep the overhead low, so I don't have to charge the consumer more money.
More money, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Okay, Claudio, explain to the audience. You're going to Florida real soon for some baseball work and stuff and scouting. How's that going to work out for you?
Well, for right now, it's going to be for our team, not for scouting just yet, but for
Mhm.
our because there's nothing to scout, I guess. But for our team at Carnegie Mellon, we're going out there. We have 4 games in a couple of weeks. We're going out, and we haven't been there in a while because of COVID and all that kind of stuff. But
Right.
we have a nice young team, very nice young team, and we had a very nice fall season. We started off hot, and I'm expecting us to have a very good spring season. And like I said, just a special group of guys. I've been so lucky to coach at Carnegie. I've been lucky to coach all these places that I've been, But I've been head coach at CMU now for 17 years, and hopefully I can stay another 17 years.
Well, that's great. That's great. I heard you last night on the 412 with Mark Mancini and Dave
Dave Finoli and Chris. Yeah.
Chris. Yeah. I heard you last night on there, and of course, I appreciate the the little pitch you gave me last night. I appreciate that always. And so we're going to wrap things up here shortly. Here, what's your thoughts on Pitt now? They hired a new offensive coordinator. Well, he's not new. He's a return, Frank Signetti Jr.
Right.
And he already has recruited a fullback. I think the running game is going to come in play for Pitt this year. What's your thoughts on this?
I agree with you. I think the running game is going to be important. Losing Pickett is obviously a big loss, but they got the kid from USC coming in.
USC, right?
He's supposed to be a nice quarterback, and they do have a couple other quarterbacks. So I think they're set in quarterbacks. I know everybody's going to say, "Oh, Kenny's going." Well, I think they're going to be okay at quarterback, and if they can get that running game established, here's the thing: I think they need to do. I like to see an off, or really any team, be it baseball, for example. My team is CMU. Our offense is very aggressive. Okay, that's our style. That's our signature. That's our personality. Right. So, what is the Pitt personality going to be? Is it going to be a grind? Running back, fullback? Is it going to be bombs away? They have to have a personality. Is there going to be one of keeping you off guard? They're going to mix it up. I just don't think that you like to have a rhythm in offense as a football team. And
right. Well, Frank Signetti is very good at the running game. That's his forte. Right. He was the offensive coordinator under Wannstedt, and he was responsible for the development of Bill Stahl. Right. And so I think I think that's a good hire for Narduzzi, and I believe that bringing him in here is going to help the running game, play action. And I think we're going to see a different Pitt offense this year, and I can't wait to see it because I've seen it. So I mean, I've seen what Signetti can do.
It's driving me nuts. I apologize. I'm gonna look up. He was Troy Aikman's offensive coordinator, the guy for Dallas. He was a head coach. What the heck was his name? North Turner.
North Turner.
Yeah, he was a
North Turner's been everywhere.
He was a great offensive coordinator.
Terrible head coach.
Yeah, it was on my mind. So who the hell was that? What the hell was his name? But
North Turner.
Signetti. I think Signetti's going to be a nice addition. And again, I just think it's important that they establish a personality, whatever it is. Go
right,
with it.
Right. Yeah, like I said, he's already bringing in fullbacks and and things like that. So I think there's going to be a little bit more emphasis on the run. Which, of course, after Whipple hit the road and Pickett didn't play in the Peach Bowl, and I'm still frustrated about that. I thought that Narduzzi should have told Pickett, "You need to play because we need you. We have unfinished business here, and that's more important than the NFL." And he just went ahead and let him walk and do whatever he wanted. And I thought that was a little uncharacteristic for Narduzzi. But anyway, what's your thoughts on that anyway?
Ralph, to be honest with you. John Calipari tells his players, if you want to do what's good for me, John Calipari, you'll stay here at Kentucky for 4 years. If you want to do what's good for you, you'll go to the NBA and make millions of dollars. Okay. And John encourages them to go to the NBA and he does whatever he can to get them to the NBA so he can create, as he calls it, generational wealth for that player's family. Look what happened to, what's the quarterback who got hurt? The Italian kid in the Peach Bowl.
Oh, you mean
his name?
Well, Nick Patty got hurt.
Patty, yeah,
Nick Patty, right?
I think he's Italian. His name ends in a vowel, but
yeah.
He got hurt. How about if Pickett got hurt like that? So I understand what you're saying. And years ago, that wasn't like when Dan Marino and Flutie and
none of that happened. None of it.
Or Bo Jackson, all those guys. Dickerson, all those guys played in their bowl games, all of them. Now, when one player does it, then the other one does it. And it's a business move. That's what you have to kind of separate yourself. You have to understand as a fan, yes, you want to see your guy. You want to see your team, fully loaded. You want to see that quarterback or running back, that star player do it. Yes, you do. But on his end, he figures, number one, if I have a bad game, that could cost me millions. because I'm going up against big competition, better competition, the brighter lights, they're going to think maybe I can't handle it. Or if he gets hurt, that's going to cost him millions. So to be honest with you, I understand what you're saying. As a fan, you're a zillion percent right. Not 100%, but a zillion percent right.
Right.
And on the
Right.
business end of it, again, like if I was a coach, I am a coach, but I mean, if I had
Right.
that, if he said, Coach, you know what, I'm not going to play in the Peach Bowl because I don't want to get hurt, or if I bomb, it's going to hurt my draft status. Say, hey, I get it. Again, John Calipari line. If you want to do what's good for me, the coach, you'll play. If you want to do what's good for you, you'll go. And I totally understand it. Totally understand it.
I see. Yeah, because Chip Hayner, who's one of the co-hosts of Pittsburgh Sportsline with Alan Levine,
Right.
he and I agree in the same sentiment that I think Kenny Pickett let his team down. He should have played. I mean, I understand that, and the injury rate in the bowl games is not that high.
You're right.
So,
Patty, but look what happened to him. And
yeah,
Pickett
exactly. Yeah. Right.
Pickett does run. And how about if you don't want to play the what if game, but what if he would have cracked a collarbone? Okay. Or if he'd have gotten hurt, then what?
Yeah.
Is that team going to say, hey, let's
right.
collect money for Pickett? He may have, let's collect money for him.
Yeah.
So
let's have a donation.
As a fan, I totally get it. But on the business, I say this all the time, man. We just talked about this with Aaron Donald.
And Donald, right.
You are a business. I did my show, Monday Night Impact, a couple weeks ago. You are a business. I look at myself, of course.
Great show, by the way.
Thank you. And I'm not looking at me like, making $30 million a year. I don't mean that. But me, Claudio Reilsono, is a business. Okay. That's what Jay-Z, the rapper and mogul, he said, I'm not a businessman. He said, I'm not, how do you say, I'm a businessman. I'm a businessman. And that's what it is. You are a business. So Kenny Pickett looks at himself. That's the company. He is the CEO of Kenny Pickett Enterprises.
Right.
To be honest with you, I get it.
Right. I understand what you're saying. Yeah. I wanted your opinion on that because and I echo Chip Hayner. He said that, Kenny Pickett let his team down, unfinished business, cost us some players too. Cam Bright transferred out. A lot of them saying, we'll go somewhere where we can finish business. And, so good for them. Yeah,
I don't know if that's really who knows. But again, I don't think Kenny Pickett cares about those guys. He has to worry about Kenny Pickett Enterprise.
He has to worry about himself. Yeah. Everybody looks out for number one, and that's the way it is. I mean,
he's been there. He could have left. He could have left last year or year before, but he
stayed.
So,
but he stayed. Right. I understand. Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I see it as unfinished business, and I just was, I mean, the defense tried in that game in the Peach Bowl, but it's just and I even said this to my fiance. I says they've been out on the field too long. They have to be tired. Yeah. I mean, it's not going to work. We're not moving the ball, the football or nothing. Right. It's not going to work at all. So, I mean, that's why I was frustrated about that. One last thing before we go, Claudio. As you know, our three basketball teams, colleges here, major ones especially, have sort of dropped the ball, as they say, a little bit this year. Robert Morris, I expected better since they moved out of the Northeast Conference. They were dominant there. They moved into this Colonial League, and now all of a sudden they can't beat nobody. And I don't know what's going on over there. Andy Toole's a good coach. I met Andy Toole personally when I used to work security at Palumbo when they were playing Duquesne. So I mean, Andy Toole seems like he's been there for a long time. He's been a great coach. All of a sudden, the last 3 years, he hasn't done anything. And I'm finding out now, and I listened to Zach Weiss after you were on the 412 last night. Mm-hmm. He said that this transfer portal's killing both of these teams. It's killing Robert Morris and it's killing Duquesne. Right. And it's killing Pitt a little bit. What's your thoughts on this transfer portal?
Well, again, I don't. My favorite team is Kentucky, so I follow them. I really don't know about the other teams, but I think you have to have a coach that. I'm not ripping on anybody. I'm just saying my opinion. If they're leaving, there's a reason why they're leaving. I don't know what it is, but you don't see too many people leaving Kentucky. You don't see too many people leaving Duke. You don't see too many people leaving Michigan State. You don't see too many people, leaving those programs. Michigan, you don't see too many people leaving those teams. So I don't know. I think that, and a lot of times these things are cyclical. I know growing up, as you know for sure, Duquesne, Pitt, and Robert Morris were damn good teams.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Go back up. So, at the end of the day, those three coaches, they know the game, they want to win. You have to have the right type of players that fits your system.
That fits your system, right? Yeah.
For example, even with me at Carnegie Mellon, my team, we hadn't played a game since October of 19 because of COVID, right? So this past fall of 21 was our first games since October of 19. I lost pretty much everybody I had. So this new team had to get used to me, and I had to get used to them.
Right.
Yeah. So, I'm very passionate. I don't just sit there and let the game go by. I actually coach. Okay.
Right.
And I'm very good at it. Okay. Now,
absolutely.
I talk. I mean, I may talk louder during the game. Okay. I never get on anybody like, insulting or anything like that. I'm very encouraging, very motivating, very demonstrative, very passionate. So they had to get used to me, and, I had to get to know which buttons to push
with them.
Certain players, certain players, maybe you can get on a little bit more than others. And I had to learn that. Okay.
Right.
So, maybe these teams, these coaches need to maybe be a little bit more adjustable, or whatever you want to say. I don't know. Like I said, I don't follow them enough, but
well, Zach Weiss brought up a point last night. He said this, that Keith Dambrot actually got rid of most of his team, which I didn't know about until now. And he is trying to sell the new facility down there that they just built for them.
Yeah.
And he's having a bad year. And he brought in all these players because last year some of the players that he had, like Capel, had attitude problems. So, now he sacrificed wins to get rid of the attitude problem, because with these kids he was winning. And now he's having a bad season. And he's trying to sell a new building. And now, like Zach said, the alum now and the student body starting to get anxious, because now, wait a minute here, we just built you a brand new facility, and you're stinking the joint up already. And that's and that's basically how that is. But Claudio, I want to thank you for being on this program tonight on my Sports Corner podcast.
It's my pleasure.
We'll be seeing each other again on February 28th. For the Sports Spectacular on PCTV. I'm excited about that. That was my rescheduled live call-in from February 3rd, and I decided we're going to turn this into the Sports Spectacular. It's going to be the year in review. It's going to be myself, you, Smoking Jim Frazier, Luther Dupree, and Alan Levine, and it's going to be a great show. I think we're all going to be able to throw our opinions in there for all the teams for this year. We're going to review all of last year with all the teams. What's going on, what can they do to fix some things, and stuff like that. High school, we'll talk a little bit about. It's been a rough year for coaches, and so. But anyway, Claudio, thanks for being on the show. I appreciate this, and we'll be talking soon. And have a great night, and thank you.
You do a great job, and I appreciate you being on. I appreciate your support. So thank you very much.
Hey, thank you, Claudio. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, everybody. This has been Sports Corner with me, Ralph Williams, podcast with my special guest, Claudio Reilsono. Everybody have a good night. Be safe. Okay, Claudio, thank you.